Okay, well, it's time for business news now. Stephen Carroll joins us for that. Stephen, going to start in Australia, where Facebook has agreed to restore news articles to its platform.
That's right. The Australian government has agreed 4 concessions to its bill designed to force tech giants to pay media organisations for news. And that's after a week-long standoff which saw the social media giant block all news articles for Australian users. The changes include adding a 2-month mediation period when tech giants cannot reach a deal with publishers before a government-appointed arbitrator intervenes. The Australian dispute with Facebook has been watched by lawmakers in other parts of the world who are considering similar laws. In a statement, Facebook's Campbell Brown said the agreement will allow the company to support the publishers they choose to, including small and local publishers. Going forward, she says the government has clarified they will retain the ability to decide if news appears on Facebook so that the company won't automatically be subject to a forced negotiation. Australia's finance minister, for his part, says the company's behaviour in the incident was regrettable.
Absolutely critically, the code maintains its key measures. Namely, it's a mandatory code, a world-leading code. Secondly, it's based on two-way value exchange. And third, it involves a final offer arbitration mechanism.
Well, turning next to Brazil, where shares in the oil giant Petrobras have slumped after President Bolsonaro moved to replace its CEO.
Petrobras shares plunged by more than 20%, I should say, on Monday, wiping more than 10 billion euros off the company's value. Investors taking fright after President Bolsonaro announced he would replace the current CEO with a retired army general who has no experience in the oil sector. The president had criticised the oil company's boss for raising the price of petrol and diesel, as well as for following social distancing during the pandemic. This latest sign of government intervention in Petrobras sparked the share sell-off and weakened the country's currency.
Então tem impacto na economia muito grande quando há uma ingerência e o mercado se desarruma, né? Então ele precisa compreender melhor isso e precisa ter pouco mais de sensibilidade de como é a dinâmica da economia. Não é tudo que ele quer e como ele quer que seja.
Meanwhile, investigators in the United States have been giving an update on the engine failure in a Boeing plane in Colorado over the weekend.
The National Transportation Safety Board says the damage to the fan blade on the Boeing 777 plane was consistent with metal fatigue. The Pratt & Whitney engine failed just 4 minutes into the flight from Denver on Saturday. The plane landed safely, but Boeing has grounded a dozen of 777s with the same engine. Air accident investigators now say the motor will be examined more carefully.
A preliminary on-scene exam indicates damage consistent with metal fatigue. Now, this piece is being flown on a private jet tonight to Pratt & Whitney's headquarters, or Pratt & Whitney's laboratory, where it will be examined tomorrow under the supervision of NTSB investigators.
Now, meanwhile, the European Union's air safety regulator says another incident involving a Boeing plane over the Netherlands on Sunday was unrelated to what happened in Denver. A 747 freight plane, also with a Pratt & Whitney engine, had dropped parts over the town of Meersen shortly after taking off from Maastricht Airport. The EASA says after receiving more information on both engines that there was no similarity between the two incidents.
Coincidence. What's happening, Stephen, on the markets today?
Well, let's start with the price of Bitcoin, which has slumped in the past 24 hours after hitting those record highs in recent days. According to the website CoinDesk, Bitcoin down over 10%, hovering just under $50,000 each. This coming after the Federal Reserve Chief Janet Yellen described the cryptocurrency as inefficient and a highly speculative asset. On the stock markets, Asian shares edging higher in trading this Tuesday. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong up over 1%. We are keeping an eye on shares in the bank HSBC. Not seeing much movement, though, in Hong Kong after their latest results showed a slump in profits in 2020.
Meanwhile, here in France, the continuing coronavirus restrictions meaning some businesses really having to make difficult decisions, Stephen.
Paris hosts dozens of major trade fairs and conferences every year, but that event sector has been shut down for almost a full year with no clear sign of when business can resume. Maria Sofas has the story.
The annual Paris International Agricultural Show usually welcomes some 600,000 visitors. This year, though, it's been cancelled, an indication of how the COVID-19 pandemic is threatening France's event sector. More than 300 similar shows have already been postponed in Paris. Many exhibition spaces are closed and events planners are feeling powerless.
Nous sommes à l'arrêt complet, sans personnel, sans clients. C'est la situation de l'événementiel aujourd'hui, encore.
As well as the empty venues, hotels too are deserted. This one in Paris's Montmartre neighbourhood has hardly welcomed any visitors since March. Only 2 of the 50 rooms here are occupied. The owner has been left disillusioned by the situation.
On a diminué de 60%, 70% notre chiffre d'affaires sur 2020. Et sur le mois de janvier, on est à 80% de baisse. Paris sans congrès, c'est plus Paris.
1 in 2 visitors who come to Paris come for professional conferences. Without these clients, organisers are left high and dry. In total, it comes at a loss of 4 to 5 billion euros for the French capital. For some, though, the COVID-19 crisis has proved to be a springboard for their businesses. Since 2010, this startup in the western city of Angers has been putting on virtual conferences and events. Calls haven't stopped flooding in since the arrival of the virus.
On a une demande qui est très très forte et il a fallu répondre à cette demande pour ne pas laisser les organisateurs de salons, je dirais, dans la panade.
Going virtual could be the future of events planning. In 2020, the sector suffered a total loss of 33 billion euros.
And finally, from Stephen, the social media app Clubhouse is making changes after audio was leaked.
We were just discussing that you're not on Clubhouse,
No.
but neither of us are because it's invite only. So someone hasn't invited us to Clubhouse yet. But it is an audio only app where people can hold and host discussions. The company has been forced to implement new security measures after a user was able to siphon audio off the app and stream it to an external website. And that goes against one of Clubhouse's main principles, which is that conversations aren't archived or available outside of their app. The company says that it's banned the user involved and it's making changes to stop it happening again.
Well, do we really want to be on it
I know,
anyway,
if
Stephen?
we're not on it, is it even happening?
Exactly. Stephen Carroll, thanks a lot for that business update.